So, what if my son almost blinded your daughter? Children grows up like that. EM. Entitled mom, ES. Entitled son, BM. Bookstore manager, MS. My sister, MM. My mom, M. Me. This happened when me and my family used in live back in South Korea about 16 years ago. So please keep in mind I am doing my best to translate in English and to best of my memory. I don't know if the culture has changed, but back then it was okay for children to play rough, as long as they are having fun and there is sincere apologies in case anyone gets hurt and the parents give earful and good smack on their calves. Again, this used to be form of discipline, IDK, if that has changed. Anyways, I was around 10 and MS around 8. MS, and M were at mall bookstore picking books of our choosing because we have been doing such a good job with our grades. The BM was a really cool guy, directing us to books we'll be interested in. I chose book about myth across the world for children, and my sister was fiddling around with a book about famous princesses in history. The bookstore was also selling CD for games and programs, and although we knew MM wasn't going to buy it, both of us were looking at games we wanted. Enter EM and ES. Both of them are dressed in very expensive and fancy-looking clothes at the time. And BM runs over to the entrance and does a full 45-degree bow. BM. Oh, Mrs. EM's last name. What a pleasant surprise. What brings you to our store? EM. Well, BM's first name. I figured we'd drop by your shit store and try to see if there was anything worth buying. I let out a sigh. For a 10 years old, I had pretty firm grasp of what was going on, and this was no different. I immediately knew they were one of those rich snobs who think they were better than the rest. If you guys didn't know, in Korea it is informal to call someone by their first name and is considered rude unless you are close friends to them. It's always person's position/title, then last name. So any sane person would have addressed BM as manager, last name. This lady, who was supposed to be from high class with all her higher education, didn't even have the courtesy to respectfully address the poor BM. And BM, who was probably scared of her influence, had no choice but to take all that. I decided to pay no mind and continue to browse those discs. Few minutes later, the ES, who was around 7 to 8, came next to me and snatched the game disc case that was in my hand. ES, you are not old enough to play this. This kid, who was at least 2 years younger than me, was telling me I wasn't old enough to play the game. It was rated Korea's equivalent of E10+. Oh, and you are? How old are you? ES, shut up, loser. I'm getting this game. Sure, whatever. I left him there and went back to browsing other games. That's when I heard a scream from MS. I turned around, see the ES has torn off the packaging, took the disc out, and was poking MS in the eye. M and MM immediately rushed over. MS was crying while covering the eye. After seeing what has happened, MM was really mad and start firmly, not yelling, just in strict voice, telling ES why he did it, and asked to apologize to MS. EM sees this and comes over and yells at my mom. EM, how dare you speak to my child that way? You could traumatize my son. Your son was hurting my daughter. He could have actually blinded her. Are you going to take full responsibility for ruining her beautiful face? Your son owes an apology, and I demand you come with us to the hospital. EM scoffs. So what? Children are supposed to grow up like that. Your daughter should have learned to take it. My son is perfect and did nothing wrong. He doesn't owe her shit. Besides, by the looks of it, your daughter will grow up ugly anyways. I had enough. Not only did EM acted like she knew better, but she didn't feel the necessity to take responsible to at least take us to a hospital and insult my sister. My sister had some insecurity about her look at that time. She was bawling louder after hearing this. I was usually a laid-back kid, but not this time. I stepped up, and did a hard frontal kick on the yes. He fell on the ground. My shoe was imprinted on his clothes as he started to cry. EM, what the F asterisk CK are you doing? How dare you, you little shit. What if there is a fracture on his ribs? M, smirking and scoffing, so what? Children are supposed to grow up like that. Your son should have learned to take it. Noticing that I am using her own words against her, she took a moment to fumble out few more words. EM, who the F asterisk CK are you to tell me how to raise my child? You don't know shit. You shouldn't talk to adults that way. It's disrespectful. M, apparently more than you, and I actually feel sorry for your son because he's being raised by a psychotic, rude, rich snob, and the asterisk TCH of a mother like you. Were you not taught to treat others the same way you wanted to be treated? Like I said, I had more awareness of adult conversations compared to other kid at my age, and picked up few swear words here and there. Plus, I watched few Korean dramas and I knew few lines, with adding couple of my own, was definitely going to send her over the edge. EM, pointing finger on all of us. How dare you filthy lowlives talk to us? I bet all of you live in some shitty low-income apartments. M, looking her dead in the eye, and I bet you just got lucky with some stock-up doctor or lawyer when you gladly spread your legs after seducing him and forcing him to marry you with his child on the way, because you knew that was the only way to succeed in life. And now, I bet he is busy fucking some sexy lady from work. Yes, I knew what those words meant, whom he has an actual feelings for. I took a moment to take a breath and continued before EM could say another word. M, pointing finger at ES, who was crying like he got hit by a bus, which leaves that little monster you have raised as the only fruit of your labor. Good job. Sarcastically. This was the final nail in the coffin. EM was fuming with rage and was about hit me with her rather hefty-looking purse. BM stepped in and grabbed her wrist. BM, excuse me, Mrs. EM, but I am gonna have to ask you to leave. EM, you can't do that. I am on royal membership. BM, fed up with her bullshit. F asterisk CK your royal membership. You are banned from this store. Now get out before I call the police. EM, I'll bring this store down by telling everyone not to. BM, I dare you. I will make sure local news sees the security footage. You'll be marked for mockery and shame, even from your rich friends. Emails and social medias were not around that time, so TV news was the prime way to stay alert to what was happening. EM face was red because she knew she was at disadvantage if police were here. Even if she didn't, the police couldn't do anything to me due to wacky child protection law in Korea. She stormed out with the kid, and as she was walking away, I think she was covering her head in shame. BM apologized to all of us, and even gave us the game discs we've been wanting for free. MM later disciplined me hard for how using bad languages, but also was proud of me for standing up for my sister. I still wasn't allowed play the game for 1 week after getting it. I think that was the only time I had insulted someone to that degree. Growing up under Christian family, I was taught to forgive others, have patience, show kindness, be merciful, and blah blah blah. Standard Christianity stuff. We moved to the US 1 year later, so I have no idea what happened to both EM and ES. My sister was fine, and she grew up to be a beautiful young woman with decent paying job. You think Korea is all about K-pops, foods, neon lit nights, and generally people being nice? Well, it has its own share of crazy and deranged people. Edit. Thanks for the silver star, everyone. I'd like to clear some stuff up. I probably was not the only savage 10 years old in Korea. You'd be surprised to see how many kids are throwing slurs and sharp words in the playground, school, and tutoring centers. This is probably due to Koreans being one of the most short-tempered individuals in the world, can confirm. I'm short-tempered myself. There is always irrational words and slurs being thrown around constantly, even in front of children. Adults do not care who's watching. All they want is to win the argument, maybe with a fisticuffs. Children learns these kinds of stuff real quick. Besides, when Korea is filled with BS of an adults like this, would you follow, respect the elders and adults bullcrap? Korean drama usually don't have swear words, but they do still have sharp words. Again, I was raised in Christian family, so I wasn't directly exposed to such words from my parents. But that didn't stop me from hearing from my friends at school and some bad apple adults in my church who gossiped a lot.